or whatever time we discuss matters politics, governance, as well as state of the nation. My name is Tamara Patience, and I'm joined by Emmanuel Bosire, who will help us analyze what we're talking about or the discussions that we're going to have. And most definitely, the comment section is very much open. Feel free to interact with us as well as give us your opinions on the matters that we're going to be discussing here on the Q&A table. So, top of the list, of course, we know what happened or what has been happening or the cat and mouse game between Uhuru Kenyatta, between the current president, William Ruto, as well as the opposition leader, that is Raila Odinga. And Uhuru Kenyatta came out to and made some remarks. One, of course, stating that he is with Azimio. And number two, disassociating himself from what the current government is actually trying to imply. That is that the current state of Kenya is because of the previous regime, which happens to be his regime. Now, we saw Moses Kuria's response to Uhuru Kenyatta. If you may just read, and then you will probably just give us your reaction on that. So, on Moses Kuria's X page, he said, "My response to Uhuru Kenyatta, number one, every day the full magnitude of the mess you left behind is dawning on us. We are not complaining. We will continue to clean the mess. We can do so when you're quiet. Better." Number two, you thought the economy would collapse by December 2023, as you have told your friends repeatedly. Now that it's clear we have navigated your murky waters, you are all over again. Number three, if you have a problem with Kimani Ichung'wah's state capture bill, call him directly or visit him in Gikambura. And number four, you are not happy that Raila has refused your contract to cause violence. You conned him that you would make him president, then fired all your experienced campaign managers. You lied to the old man, and now you want to manage him again by saying you are in Azimio to stay. Mjinga akierevuka alama ya dukuduku, na akasema happy Sunday Mr. President Emeritus. First of all, who has power over who between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta?
What power?
Who owns who? Because as per Moses Kuria's statement that you've seen on the point number 4, he said that you are not happy that Raila has refused your contract to cause violence. You conned him that you would make him president, then fired all your experienced campaign managers. You lied to the old man. Now you want to manage him again by saying you are in Azimio to stay. Yes, so from that particular statement, I think the first question we can ask ourselves is who owns who? Because we saw these two people come together to work together, of course, during the handshake era. And now, whatever Moses Kuria is actually trying to bring out is trying to imply, Mr. Producer, whatever we ate today, we thank the Lord. Anyway, Moses Kuria is coming to imply that Raila has actually refused the contract to cause violence. So number one, you ask which type of violence. Is it the Mandamano type of violence or what was happening? And then number two, we are seeing that through Uhuru Kenyatta, we saw Raila Odinga come into power. Of course, he still is powerful, or he was powerful, but we saw him come into power, you know. That is one. And then now we are seeing this particular statement by Moses Kuria, which implies that one or the other person actually is in command of the other person. But so that's why I'm asking the question, or posing the question, who is powerful between the two? Who calls the shots between the two in whatever agreement they have?
Here, I can get to a point where we can say that the two usefulness in politics is coming to the end. Raila Odinga is facing a lot of pressure. One of the pressures that he's facing is that the age factor is disturbing him, and anytime soon he will have to exit politics and maybe become an elder and even to cancel the cunning politicians. Talking about former president even the word itself, former president. So according to the Kenyan constitution or the constitution, it does not allow you as a president to go past becoming a president. So there's no political seat that former President Uhuru Kenyatta will go and contest for. So to them, their political usefulness has come to the end, or rather their sweetness to the people has come to the end. And so much of the things saying who controls who between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, and then that could be in other ways, maybe economic aspects, friendship, but not in politics, because the arena or the podium they used to enjoy in politics, they no longer enjoy it. One, Raila Odinga is not enjoying it because you've seen that he has no option rather than to either support President William Ruto or endorse someone else to continue with his agenda of opposition and maybe continue contesting from either ODM or Azimio. Talk about Uhuru Kenyatta, his relevance in Mount Kenya region cannot be that clear because one, he was the sitting president, the head of command then before the 2022 general elections. So if he meant business with Raila Odinga, he could have used all means possible to help Raila Odinga become a president. And from what Moses Kuri is tweeting is that Uhuru Kenyatta did not help Raila Odinga in winning the elections, but or rather help him to lose an election. And if we go by that theory and assumption that if Uhuru Kenyatta was supporting Raila Odinga and then decided to fire his serious campaign managers, campaign managers, they come with strategy. These are the people who guide you as a person. They come up with suggestions on how your camp is going to win an election. They're coming up with the most possible ways that's going to help you to be more popular and even turn your popularity into winning election. Just like there's this Mutai who brought the hustler narrative and sold it to Uhuru Kenyatta, and Uhuru by then did not buy it in 2017, and something that William Ruto came to buy in 2022, helping him to become president. So talking about that, one of the reasons Moses Kuri is giving, it could be Raila Odinga's usefulness at the moment. It's so important to help former President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is the one who needs Raila Odinga more. That's why he's saying that I'm in Azimio to stay. One of the reasons that he needs Raila Odinga more is that he does not want to be exposed more of what he did in the previous regime. So you've seen the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah and many bold leaders who come out clearly to give names to former president, telling him you did this and that. And so those could be my own political views, that one of the reasons that Uhuru Kenyatta needs Raila Odinga more is that it is going to help him to control the pressure that is getting, one, from Mount Kenya region, and two, from the Republic, because President Ruto is very good in selling propaganda. So he can sell propaganda to all parts of Kenya that the problems that we're having in this our country, we are inheriting them from former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And then Ruto is good at selling this propaganda, just like he sold to us hustler narrative. He told us, can we allow these dynasties to go home? How many? Can you have a show by hands? And people were shouting. So this propaganda seems to have been bought by majority of Kenyans. So for former president, to come down and calm this pressure, he must come up on stage and tell the president to keep off from him. But not all will buy these ideas, because there are those who still believe that is the cause of our problems, in as much he is or is not. So once the propaganda is sold, people will buy it. And then talking about the other idea, Moses is saying that nani mjinga akierevuka. So this sasa katika hii aspect, nani mjinga? So what in this manner we can say is that Raila Odinga could have seen that he was being used by Uhuru Kenyatta. So in those close advice,
maneno ya mafuta katika taifa letu la Kenya
ni vizuri was lying to him. They came up even in public telling him, including Ibabu Wino, telling him, if Uhuru stayed as, let him take you to Mount Kenya region. You know, during the campaign, Uhuru did not take Raila Odinga to campaign there. Did not go and campaign for him because the ground had shifted, and by then it was all painted yellow. And maybe the last part of that is that now William Ruto, he could have been the one coming out to tell the president to stop, but he has used his right men, the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah and many others who will be coming to tell him, keep off. I don't know if we really, but what I know that President Ruto is very good in selling propaganda to Kenyans.
And of course, speaking of President Ruto, we all know about the G2G, that is government to government oil MOU, that Raila Odinga was actually talking about earlier on, and linking it to the current increase or current rise in fuel prices. Now, remember earlier on, Raila had actually given a challenge to the government to actually produce evidence or to produce documentation on the agreement that has been signed, of course, as well as the taxation systems that have been used and the taxation itself. Now, the president actually made a response in regards to what has been questioned or what has been brought about by the opposition. And let's just listen to his response before again we come back and see what Raila's response to Ruto's response was.
Maneno ya mafuta katika taifa letu la Kenya. Ni vizuri nieleze watu wa Kenya, tuache siasa duni na poro. Wanajaribu kutueleza ati they are telling us we must prove that this transaction between Kenya and the international oil companies is above board. I want to tell them without fear of any contradiction, na niwaangalie kwa macho, wacheni uongo, wacheni rumors, wacheni speculation, semeni ukweli. Hapa Kenya, wakati mimi nimechaguliwa kama rais, watu walikuwa napiga mlolongo kwa petrol station, hakukuwa hata na mafuta. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Si watu walikuwa wanahangaika kupiga foleni, unaenda petrol station hii hakuna mafuta, unaenda hiyo ingine hakuna mafuta. Kampuni zote, karibu kampuni 100 za mafuta za Kenya zilikuwa zimefungwa kwa sababu hawakuwa na uwezo ya kutafuta madola. Hiyo transaction tumefanya imesort out mambo matatu. Ya kwanza, imesort out matatizo ya supply. Sasa hakuna petrol station yenye haina mafuta, number 1. Number 2, imesort out problem ya madola. Walikuwa wanahangaika kampuni kutafuta dola kutoka benki hii ati benki hii ati benki ile kwa sababu hakukuwa na mpango ya sawasawa. Serikali ya Kenya tumefanya MOU ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunaweza kununua mafuta, kampuni zetu ziweze kununua kwa pesa ya Kenya badala ya kutafuta madola. Today, all oil companies, oil marketing companies in Kenya, they buy fuel, they buy petroleum products in Kenya shillings. Something that never happened and was never imagined. Na jambo la tatu ni kwamba ile transaction tumefanya na Saudia na UAE. Leo watu ya Uganda, watu ya Tanzania, watu wa Rwanda ndio wanaenda kutafuta ile sisi tayari tuko naye. Because our transaction was the best. Every country today is looking for the transaction similar to the one that we have. So we are above board, and I want to say, kama unataka kujua, I want to challenge our competitors. I want to challenge the opposition. Watuambie, badala ya kutuambia we must prove that it is a scam, let them prove to us that it is a scam. the stakeholders in the petroleum product industry themselves have confirmed that what we have done is the best for Kenya, is the best for every citizen. And
Yeah, so that was President Ruto's response to the oil scam allegations, of course. And as per what you've heard from the president, is the three things that he talked about a valid reason to actually, as Kenyans, not complain about the current oil price situation? Because he mentioned some of the things that have been solved: supply issues, the dollar problem, as well as the Saudi and UAE transaction through Kenyan shillings and not the dollar.
You see, at times we don't need to be government sympathizers. But Kenyans know that there's a time we had a shortage of fuel across the country. And the little that was found, it was on high demand.
Yeah.
Something maybe that business and the middlemen took advantage of and even increased the price as the law of business and supply asks. And then he has said, very good, we've heard what he has said. And one of the challenges that I will ask him, don't dare Raila Odinga. No, there are people whom you don't dare. And the moment you dare them, the moment you make them more strong. So one of those people in our country is Raila Odinga. I remember there's a time, is it Kibaki? There's an administration that dared Raila Odinga to bring evidence. Little did they know that Raila had every information. And when it was brought to the public, it brought a lot of embarrassment. So one of the challenges that government to government memorandum of understanding could be facing is dishonesty. This here, you, Kenyan government with Saudi government. So there's no middleman here. And those who are supposed to guide this business, who are they? So that's where the challenge could be. You are a government importing fuel. You are government exporting fuel. Who is going to monitor these transactions? You're telling us as Kenyans that these transactions are the one of the best in as much as they have helped. But can you convince us that who is controlling these transactions? Because if we are business colleagues, I have a business, you have a business. And then from this business, we want to maximize profits at the expense of the importer. It's a Kenyan. So don't you see that it's going to be unethical to run this business? So I think there are things that could be needing government to government memorandum of understandings. But government to government understandings of business, we might get it wrong. To some extent, it can be having advantages. But as everything, there's disadvantages too. So who is the monitor now? Who's going to monitor this business? Who is going to monitor Kenyans as importers and maybe Saudi government as exporters without exploiting a taxpayer?
But Emmanuel, when we look at the benefits that the president has actually mentioned, and there is something that we can actually call not exploiting the taxpayers per se, because as he mentioned, earlier on, he talked about the era when we did not have oil, and you yourself were a witness that petrol stations were actually dry, but now there is oil, but the price is higher, but supply issues have been solved, number one. Number two, the dollar problem, according to him, has been solved, seeing that most petrol stations or all petrol stations in Kenya or oil suppliers in Kenya actually can trade using the Kenyan shilling and not the dollar.
What you're saying it could be true. But it's saying the dollar issue has not been solved. Because many people at the moment would like and prefer to be paid in dollars other than to be paid in Kenyan shillings. Because can you check what's the exchange rate today of $1 to Kenyan shilling? So you find out that this dollar value has not been sorted. And people who are business persons investing in fuel will not want to import it in Kenyan shillings because they will not find profits. Because to them, the importation cost is going to be high compared to the selling price. And talking about the cost of fuel in the past 2 weeks, there was a decrease in fuel prices all over the globe. Countries reduced the fuel prices, but come to a country, Kenya, petrol remained the same. Diesel came down by 2 shillings. So 2 shillings cannot make their big difference, because if you took a liter by 178 and it comes down by 176, it would be a challenge still. So talking about the dollar issue, it has not been achieved. Talking about the advantages, what could be the advantages is when we have a lot of supply of fuel, as he is putting it, then the price of fuel could be relevantly affordable compared to the time that there was no fuel, but the price was almost similar to what it is at the moment when he's saying that there's a lot of fuel in the market. Now, who says the truth? And that's why I'm telling you that President Ruto should not make a mistake to dare Raila Amolo Odinga to bring this evidence. Hii ni kidogo sana.
Okay, but on his side, of course, the president said, let them prove to us that it is a scam. And this was followed by the opposition leader, that is Raila Odinga, of course, giving a detailed report on the oil scandal that he's talking about. So let's just listen to Raila Amolo Odinga, alafu tuarudi sasa hivi.
Has gone down while ours stay unchanged. Are we stuck with oil prices because the negotiators already locked the prices and the oil is coming in the quantities that was agreed on in March? So many things still do not make sense, despite the massive space bought by the oil companies to explain themselves and the effort of the government to fool and confuse Kenyans. In light of this development, I am today calling on some 3 specific institutions that are paid by the Kenyan taxpayer to exercise their mandate and get to the bottom of this saga as follows. First, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. This institution, under the chairmanship of a distinguished scholar, Honorable Justice Professor Jackton B. Ojwang, has the primary duty to protect the people of Kenya from predatory practices. Indeed, it is given protection in the course of its work through a legally mandated independence. Section 9(3) of the Energy Act says, except as otherwise provided in this Act, the authority shall be independent in the performance of its functions, exercise of its powers, and shall not be subjected to the direction or control of any person or authority. Under the Ruto regime, EPRA has been reduced to being a price fixer and to enable predators in the government to exploit Kenyans by overcharging them for petroleum products. Section 10 of the Energy Act gives the authority the duty to monitor in consultation with the competition authority conditions of contractors' operations and their trade practices, investigate complaints or disputes arising from the petroleum operations, ensure enforcement and compliance with the national values and principles, protect consumer, investor, and other stakeholder interests. The challenge is now on its chairman to rise up to the true mandate of the authority and investigate the following. 1. violation of consumer rights under the Bill of Rights in the G2G arrangement. 2. Transparency of fuel contracts signed by all parties in the alleged G2G arrangement. 3. Criminal collusion through price fixing and other corrupt trade practices in the G2G arrangement. 4. The controversy surrounding the dispute between Galana Energies Limited and Anjeri Njoroge. The second institution we are challenging is the Office of the Auditor General. Since her appointment, the Auditor General, CPA Nancy Gathungu, has displayed courage in her approach to duty. We are calling upon her to execute her mandate in this matter and investigate the following. 1. The procurement processes engaged in by the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum in recruitment of suppliers and their local agencies. 2. The criteria applied by the G2G arrangement in arriving at the prices at which Kenya is to buy fuel. 3. The criteria applied by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority in arriving at the prices the Kenya consumer shall buy petroleum products. 4. The criteria applied in the G2G arrangement in arriving at the demurrage and other levies and charges. The third institution which we are calling out is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Just a minute. We take note that Chairman Bishop David Oginde and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have been silent about the goings on in the petroleum sector. Allegations of corruption have been made, but no investigations have begun. The challenge is on the chairman to start working on the matters raised and to investigate the following. 1. Conflict of interest by government officials in the lead G2G arrangement. 2. Bribery and commissions and kickbacks from revenues raised by the G2G arrangement. Through price fixing and other corruption and violation of procurement local agencies. Once again, we reiterate that we stand by every word that we have said on this oil deal. We will not relent on this matter until the truth is known and punishment that fits the crime is meted out. In the meantime, heads must roll at the Energy Ministry and National Treasury. End of statement.
We can leave it there. There's a pressing issue? None.
No question.
There was no question.
Satisfied.
Letwa nchini itachangia kupunguza kwa bei ya mafuta. Kwa upande wako una matumaini kwamba bei hiyo itashushwa chini? Kisha cha pili, Rais pia amesema kwamba kama kuna ithibati kuhusiana na madai ambayo kwa sasa unaibua, weke wazi. Asante.
Rais aliongea jana juu ya bei ya mafuta, lakini sisi tunaongea juu ya mafuta ambayo tayari iko hapa. Yeye mwenyewe anajua ati matangi zimejaa na mafuta kwa sababu Uganda imekataa kuchukua hiyo mafuta kwa sababu bei yake iko juu. Sasa hiyo mafuta ambayo nasema ni tayari iko hapa, tunasema bei itashuka chini. Sababu gani bei hiyo haishuki chini wakati huu? Mbona nangoja mpaka mwezi ujao? Haya yote katika hiyo statement ambayo mimi nimetoa, nimesema mambo mengi zaidi. Nimeongea juu ya vile hii mafuta yenyewe ilikuja hapa. Kwanza walisema, na hata yeye jana alikariri, ati hii ni serikali na serikali, yani G ni government to government. Lakini ile makaratasi ambayo nasema ziko hata mbele ya bunge ni karatasi ambayo zimewekwa sahihi na bwana Chirchir kwa upande hii, lakini ngambo ile hakuna waziri upande ile ambaye ameweka sahihi. Hiyo sio G to G. G to G must be government to government. Tumesema yeye ameweka sahihi na makampuni pale. Tumesema kama ingekuwa sawa, tuko na kampuni vile vile hapa Kenya ya serikali inaitwa National Oil Corporation, ambayo ingeweka sahihi na hiyo kampuni ya Saudi Arabia na hizo kampuni nyingine ya Emirates, sio waziri wa serikali ya Kenya. Kwanza hiyo yanasema ni ukweli, yale ambayo nasema hiyo ni uongo, sio kweli. Hiyo ni uongo, sio kweli. Kwa nini wamewacha kampuni ya serikali hapa, alafu wanakwenda kuchukua makampuni zingine ya binafsi kama Oryx, kama Galana, kama Gulf? Kitu gani, shida gani iko na kampuni yetu ya NOC hapa? NOC imepata kimi siku gani? Ili ikaweka sahihi. Ndio kwa sababu hawa jamaa wenyewe walienda ngambo ile na wanapata rushwa kupitia kwa hiyo makampuni ambayo wameweka hapa. Tena waniambia mimi ati makampuni ya mafuta amenijibu. Katika taifa letu hapa makampuni makubwa ya mafuta ni Vivo, ni Shell, ni Total. Hawa hawajanijibu, wao wenyewe wanaumia. Uliza hao, mimi nafanya biashara na makampuni ya mafuta, wanaumia wote, wana shida kwa sababu hawa makampuni mengine yamewekwa hapo katikati, ndio wamefanya biashara na hawa cartels. Bwana Chirchir, na mimi nataka kutoa shukrani kwa watu wa Bomet kumonyesha ya adabu. Manake hajui adabu vile wa Kenya wana shida. Vijana wana shida zaidi ni hawa watu wote. Hata bwana Ruto wanampatia ile tu heshima, lakini hawakukubali ile alikuwa anasema. Anasema uongo. Haitakikani mtu ambaye anajiita rais awe kila mara akitoka na usimamo namna hii anasema uongo. Sema ukweli. Ukweli haiozi. Na ukweli kidhihiri, uongo ujitenga. Nikujibu. Shukran.
And of course, that was Raila Odinga's response to Uhuru Kenyatta, to Ruto's response again. It seems like it's a cat and mouse game between these two. But the opposition leader has been very vocal about returning to the open tender system, which is something that has been used in Kenya for decades, compared to the G2G or government to government system that is currently, or that was initiated in March this year with the current government. Now, between these two, which is supposed to be even more beneficial to the country, because I feel like government to government relations supposed to ensure that at least the common mwananchi, the taxpayer, is not suppressed or is not compressed or is not paying as much as he or she is right now. And also him mentioning that this particular kind of system is something that has forced the likes of Uganda to actually exit from trading with Kenya the oil way.
Talk about open government to government. We talk about the disadvantages that they could be coming up with it in our country.
Yeah.
So some of these disadvantages include corruption, that you heard Raila Odinga talking about it. But he also brought a good point, by the way. Where did the National Oils Corporation go? And just I was asking you, who's going to control the business deal between Kenya and Saudi Arabia?
Yeah.
But talking about with open tender system, it gives opportunity to all Kenyans. It does not give opportunity to politicians, because Kenyans, a majority of business persons are not all who will be able to reach the government to get the tenders, to get support from the government to do their businesses.
Yeah.
So in return, it's only politicians with their private business companies who are able to get these tenders. So to me, I could suggest that we continue with the open tender system, in as much at times it might not be clear, but there's those 2 or 3 Kenyans who get these business deals and they're able to transform lives of other people who depend on them.
And of course, we've seen the likes of Senator Cheriot come up as well and respond to Raila Odinga. And this is a question, similar question I posed to you earlier on, or even one of our audiences actually posed earlier on when we were doing Ask Siasa, that you cannot be advising people and you're the one who got them in the same mess because you are part of the system. You are part of the people who money got lost during the BBI as well as the handshake initiative. So I'm like, looking at the opposition, for example, Raila Odinga has been part of the government, you know, and right now he is complaining about issues that have been raised in relation to a time when he was part of the government. So does he have the mandate, or are Senator Cheriot's words actually truthful and rightful to say that these are people who should just watch the current government actually do its work in silence?
You know, one, as a government, you don't need to side up with opposition. So what Uhuru Kenyatta wanted to do was to use the opposition to be able to get more deals and more yields in government through the opposition. So when you see the sitting president breaking down the civil servants societies, you saw him bringing Atwoli close to the government. You saw him bring Raila Odinga, the opposition, and he had control over them. Because these are the people who are people's watchmen. When the opposition sees or smells anything bad from the government, it brings it out for people, and the government stops that route. And when the civil society comes up to speak on their rights and grievances, you remember when the Kavirondo taxpayers? Yeah. So since the independence and all parts of the world, the civil society has played a key role in helping a country from being exploited by the government. Yeah. So Raila Odinga then, in 2017, actually immediately after the handshake, he was not an opposition leader. He was the deputy president. Actually, he was the president of our country. He was given the stage podium to give speech. He was on red carpet. They were working with his handshake brothers without knowing the main intentions. So this was a business deal. So it was a win for Raila Odinga coming into opposition and to government, and it was the win for Uhuru Kenyatta. So this system did not extend too long. That's the goodness of politics. It is transient. It changes. So today you can be a leader, tomorrow can be knocked out. So when you are a leader, what are you doing? When you're outside leadership, even how you behave, it shows where you are. So at the moment, Raila Odinga is now opposition leader. Now he's playing his role. So we should not side up and say that he should keep quiet, because if he keeps quiet, the government will do more ills. If opposition keeps quiet, and Ruto is given this administration, tamka tupata hakuna kitu. We wake up and find that we don't have a country, because it will have disappeared with it. So there's a role of the opposition. So we don't want to see the history. I don't know where you go with it, but it will disappear with everything. William Ruto without someone to guide him, and that's why we have the Constitution. The Constitution is guiding him. It's giving him a direction on how to rule people. Without that Constitution, People even see fire.
But that applies to every leader in power.
Yeah, and that's why we have the rule of the law prevailing. Yeah. But if now we say that they want to use energy and force to make us follow the same route, it becomes very difficult. And you know, many Kenyans tend to take President William Ruto as a dictator. And if we live in a democracy now, and what he does seems to be a dictator, what about if we had a dictatorship system of government? We not have a country and a President William Ruto who does not believe in democracy. President William Ruto, we see fire.
Anyway, those Emmanuel Bosire's sentiments, of course. And even to our viewers, I'm asking you, I'm posing the same question to you. Should those who are part of the system, when part of the previous regime actually, have a say in matters that have been inherited or in the dilapidated state of the country? As for what is being stated, it has been inherited in that particular state. Does or do the people who are previously in power have a say in what should happen in the current economy, considering the fact that it is stated that they were part or they are actually the cause of the ailing economy? Please feel free to tell us on the comment section below, and most definitely thank you, Emmanuel, for joining us, and thank you to our viewers for keeping us company, as well as allowing us to keep you company right here on the K&A table. Most definitely, depending on whatever time you're watching this, you're saying good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And we're going to leave you with this by Senator Cheriot.
Hiyo kazi karibu tukosane kwa jambo moja. Sababu mimi naona kuna unafiki pale. Kuna unafiki kwa sababu ni kweli kila mtu anakubali kwamba gharama na bei ya maisha kwa sasa iko juu na inasumbua wananchi wote. Lakini kuna mambo ambaye sisi hatuwezi kukubali kuyafanya kwa sababu tunajua ile mazuri ambaye itatokea kutokana na zile policies ambaye wewe umeweka. Policy ya kwanza ile ambaye wale watu wanatusumbua kuhusu, kama hii kitu inaitwa housing levy between Kericho na Bomet. Katika mpango yetu ya housing ambaye wewe mimi najua hivi karibuni utazindua, tunafaa kujenga manyumba zaidi ya 20,000 20,000 household. Na umetuambia katika kila household inaandika kazi vijana 8. 20,000 times 8, that is 160,000 young people of Bomet and Kericho that are about to get employment courtesy of the housing program that you initiated. Alafu unapata mtu anakuja pale anatuambia atitoeni housing levy kwa sababu ya siasa ya unafiki tu. Yet actually in the real sense, if you read the Azimio manifesto na Kenya Kwanza, both of them ilikuwa na proposal ya housing levy. Lakini kwa sababu wanataka tu kufanya siasa na kuongea maneno ambayo isaidii nchi ya Kenya, ati wanatuambia watoe. Let me announce to the country from straight here in Bomet, the same way they are telling us that they are deal breakers, hata hii yetu kwa mambo ya housing levy, that one is a deal breaker. Mimi siwezi kubali. Mtu yoyote ambaye ata insist kwamba ati lazima tutoe housing levy, basi mkutano ya mazungumzo itaisha, mtu warudi kwa barabara afanye ile ambaye alikuwa anataka. Sababu I cannot allow myself to sign on a report ambaye itakosesha kazi hawa vijana maelfu ambayo wamekaa hapa siku ya leo. That is not the job that I was elected to do. In any case, wala wanatuzungumzia, unajua ya mwisho tu, Your Excellency, kabla ni muite governor. Tutakubali advice na tutasikia kweli ile ambaye watu wanatuambia mungefanya hivi, mungetengeneza, but we cannot take advice from the same people who got us into the mess that we are currently in. Some of the people ambaye wanaongea ndio walikuwa wanazunguka wakikopa pesa wakitupa kwa mambo ya BBI na rege, alafu sasa ati leo wanajifanya advisors. How can you be advising us and you are the one who got us into the problem that we are in today? Please keep your mouth quiet. Wacha tupange serikali na mpango mzuri ambaye rais ameleta mpaka nchi ya Kenya iweze kufufuka na kuinuka vizuri. Kwa hayo mengi na machache, wacha nichukue fursa hii nimwalike gavana wa jimbo hili la hiyo kazi karibu tukosane kwa jambo moja. Sababu mimi naona kuna unafiki